So it's 1921. You're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and literally the city is being destroyed to pieces. But not by any of your neighbors or constituents or any of the people of the community you know. By a group of actual angry people. This pretty much is the foreground of the layout of the story for the 1921 Tulsa Massacre. It's a little known covered topic in United States history. However, I have seen a resurgence in the timeline of event of things. But Tulsa not only was not the only all-black flourishing town of that time to be destroyed, it was one of many flourishing towns at that time, and from what we'll cover in this video, from before this time. So back to Tulsa. Basically, I feel like with a lot of these towns, we're hearing of the massacres and the great events that happened, of course, that destroyed a lot of these cities, which is necessary. But I do believe a lot of the information that we are given kind of tells us a piece of the story. So when I speak of Tulsa, Oklahoma, we all can relate to, if anyone knows at least a little bit of the history of Tulsa, we can relate to the 1921 massacre. We can safely say that a generous amount of us associate Tulsa, Oklahoma to the year of 1921. But what day can we say it started? How long was Tulsa, Oklahoma thriving as a city before the massacre in 1921? And here we are today. So what will be covered today are all the cities I was able to easily locate and find that were black owned and created cities in the 1700s. This will be part 1 of a 4-part series. Of course, this will be very brief. I'm not going to go into detail on every single city as of right now. This is more or less a brief introduction as to what these cities are named, where they are, more than likely what happened to them, and what year they were founded. I will be covering these cities individually sometime in the future because, man, some of this history get deep, dark, and bleak. And what I can say is I have noticed several reoccurring themes. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Oh yeah, wait, side note, I will be going in order from the year it was founded. All the cities. So first on the list is Pocahontas Island, Virginia. It's a peninsula located on the north side of the Appomattox River of Virginia. It's said to have, according to the narrative, colonists were said to have brought some slaves there in 1732 to work in tobacco warehouses. And about 20 years later, in 1752, it became a town and was named Pocahontas. Yeah, the history is pretty long here for this one, and it becomes really dark. However, it does eventually become Petersburg, Virginia. And around 1882, that's when the government decides to step in, and the state legislature moved a mental asylum facility to the forum and developed the campus there. Before I go any farther, I need to really step back because I just realized I didn't set the scene here. That mental asylum was extremely important to this situation here because let me set the climate right now. So it's the 1700s, the mid 1700s to be exact. There's Pocahontas Island that has just sprung up in 1732. Now 1758, we have this rise of the study of phrenology, okay? Wherein as your skull, the shape and the size of it has 100 million% to do with who you are, your mental abilities and capabilities, your character, literally almost every aspect of your life. Your skull, the shape of it, literally determines who you are. right? This study is on the rise. It's booming around this time now. And now we have not too long after the establishment of Pocahontas Island. We'll give or take a few years, quite a few years actually. You have the placement of a mental asylum in the vicinity. Okay, I'm just going to sit that right there for Pocahontas Island. Alright, so down in Florida now, in 1738, we have Fort Moose. Now, Fort Moose was also pretty interesting as the dates of establishment was heavily speculated on. Well, that went terribly awry. Fort Mose, M-O-S-E. Just had to do a correction right there. But the story for Fort Mose goes, according to the narrative, in 1687, a group of runaway slaves, 8 men, 2 women, and a 3-year-old nursing child, had pretty much went there to seek asylum from the Spanish government. And from there, all the way well into the 1700s, that's pretty much what slaves or runaway slaves or black people did, according again to the narrative. And it thrived all the way until it was swallowed by a marsh. Yeah, the whole city, the fort, the entire existence of place was swallowed by a marsh over time. Side note, according to the narrative, after the French and Indian War, it said that Spain transferred Florida to Britain in the 1763 Treaty of Paris. And with that treaty, pretty much everyone fled. Okay, that's Fort Mose in Florida. Gonna skip a few years and head right on over to 1786 in Springtown, New Jersey. So with Springtown, as per usual with all of these cases, if not most of these cases, a tragic ending. So according to the narrative, Springtown formed after the Manumission Act of 1786, in which basically the Quakers sold some land to what they call free blacks of that time. Again, according to the narrative. And from there we have the establishment, Springtown. But basically, according to the narrative, over time everyone that lived in Springtown gradually moved out in search for larger cities for these industrial style jobs of the time. Yeah, so again, when I do these videos in depth on these cities, I will definitely go into a lot of detail about the then and now of these cities and how they got to be what they are now. But I would like to point out that around this time in the 1880s, eugenics is booming, and so is forced sterilization. So, yeah. So next on the list is Mossville, Louisiana. And this particular city was established in 1790. Yeah, this city, since I want to say the 90s, has been just plagued and just devastated by these massive companies that are just polluting the air and the water. Yeah. So yeah, there's Mossville, Louisiana, the all-black town established in 1790. Then we look to my immediate left, and I'm going with Parting Ways, Massachusetts. I always say Massachusetts wrong. Parting Ways, Massachusetts, in 1792. So, this particular city was founded on 94 acres of land by, according to the narrative, 4 former slaves who fought in the American Revolutionary War. The city that was granted and was used and was thriving is now literally a cemetery. So, yeah. And Plymouth, Massachusetts, is no longer Parting Ways. It is now Plymouth, Massachusetts. And here you can find the gravesite from where the city of Parting Ways, the black established city, in 1790, was established. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and look over to the right now at Harbor Island, Maine in 1794. So this island remained in existence and occupants for a good while and did pretty good all the way until 1912, when the state decided to come in and evict everyone and begin to relocate some of the people to the Pineland Center for the Feeble-Minded. Again, eugenics was definitely running rampant around this particular time. Another video definitely on its way. And now today, Harbor Island looks like this. Kind of looks a little abandoned. So yeah, that's it for this video for the most part. I was able to give a brief overview of these 7 cities that were created by people of color that are known as Black cities, that were established all in the 1700s, beginning in 1732. The earliest reference I was able to quickly access without even trying. I do find the Black establishment in 1732 interesting, primarily due to 1776. Yeah, in the next few days I should have the next list up, which are 21 different cities that are now all spanning from the 1800s to the 1850s. But yeah, alright, just tell me what you guys think. I don't know, have you guys heard of any of these cities? Are there any more that you guys would like to add to the list? This list is crazy long. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, and namaste lit.